All right, we are live. We are live. I just posted the link. Agent Smith, if you want to come on. We have a lot of good topics to cover tonight. I'm going to go over a little bit of the Montana megaliths, as well as, of course, these are the mystery Saskatchewan rocks of Cypress Hill Interprovincial Park of Alberta, Saskatchewan. There's several megalithic sites there. That's polygonal in Russia, but here we have some of the petroglyphs of writing on stone badlands in Alberta that I've been at and that I'm going to be going back to sometime, hopefully in the mid to end part of September. Right here we have one of the stone man giant from Giant's Playground in Montana, just south of the border of me up here in Alberta. And there's more petroglyphs. The giant bird at Writing on Stone Provincial Park UNESCO site. And here's more of the petroglyphs there. I only got a couple of the pictures myself of some of the smaller, less famous petroglyphs at this site, but I will be going back. And this is Red Rock Coulee, Alberta, close to Medicine Hat Badlands, where the geoglyphs are that I've gone to explore, that hopefully I will be able to also visit Medicine Hat again for a second time, arranged with the actual landowners. But to further explore the terraces and the geoglyphs there. This is another megalith in Montana. Oh, glitching out. Of Giant's Playground. Some of the pyramidal mountains in Montana and southern Alberta, throughout the Badlands, more writing on stone. And this one in Giant's Playground, what looks like the geopolymer polygonal wall megalith style building. But yes, that's one half. The other half is going to be free energy and ways to do it. Hydroelectric, build your own. Solar, build your own. As well as the super efficient engineering electrical free energy designs of like Mike Faraday Research, Gerald WPG Enlighten for Truth, Jeremiah, and the Real Science Crew Year of the Coil series will be doing an episode tomorrow. Maybe Tim Ventura probably pop in as well. And if you haven't seen Jeremy Reese's Alien Scientists stream earlier tonight, that I was able to be a part of, re-premiering the end 20 minutes that I participated in it as a new video tomorrow before the live that we do. St. Paul, John Pennell, I have not. Oops. Sorry, reading comments at the same time while trying to share something. There we go. Here we go. But John Levi's latest video titled Free Energy, where he covers the hydroelectric. I brought this up earlier today at the end of that video. And just to replay it for everybody, it's pretty spectacular information right here. And awesome, Logan. Still working on the terraces below that. Leads right in Bison Range, Montana. That's epic that you are getting that, my friend. Right? Did I show one of your pictures there? Was that what it did I include in that mountain one? Gotta get a little more organized, but was that sent in by you, Logan, or is that one of Julie Ryder's photos? Just a giant collection. Then we have the Medicine Hat Badlands Guardians. Oh, geez, looking at wrong pictures while talking with what I have up on the stream. All right, gonna play this John Levi clip of the hydrogen energy for the free energy section here first, and then Smith, if you're gonna join in or want to join in to talk some numbers, I'd love to go over the etymology of words, spellcasting, and how numerology all fits into it. If you're still up for that or in the chat, by all means, use the link posted. And now let us hear this epic news that John Levi did last week.
Plugging them into conventional utilities, you really haven't advanced. But how about water? How about if we could just run things off of water? How old is this technology? It seems like until I started researching things for myself, when I thought of hydrogen, I thought of a bomb. And here, this guy, Mike Copeland of Arrington Performance, worked for General Motors for 25 years. He's created the world's first functional hydrogen powered Chevrolet LS that's passed EPA testing. Of course, it just burns water. What's cool is he's utilized a conventional motor. So it has the sound of an exploding piston motor, but the explosion is created using a water powered reaction. The truck sounds and drives exactly like a conventional gasoline motor. And here we can see the tank. I mean, that's his gas tank. It has hydrogen, which are gases that came from water. And a lot of the antiquitech in the old world, even if producing a small current, could have made hydrogen. And hydrogen can now be distributed, light lamps, heat homes, and power vehicles. Often in my neighborhood, I'll see a big oil location spring up. They'll have a bunch of domes, like we see on old world buildings, and they're simply recapturing the gas in these tanks. I encourage you to watch this if you're interested. He explains everything. He's working with the company Bosch. They make tools and spark plugs and all kinds of parts. And this is a reality today. This will upset a lot of people in the current industry. And if we're not living free today, it's by design. We have everything we need to support the population. And when they discovered this technology, what did they use it for? Something destructive rather than beneficial. At the same time, they would push us into big oil and use this technology in a malevolent way. They call these fission weapons. We often wonder why everything looks melted all throughout the realm. One of these fission reactions can create temperatures exceeding 100 million degrees. 100 million degrees. There you go. How would a brick fare in 100 million degree temperature? Not very well. I think it would look like this cooked out realm. And when they discovered this technology, what did they use it for? Something destructive. Everything. He's working with the...
All right, so I paused it there so that right above my head should be the title and the channel name to go check out this hydrogen vehicle, water-powered hydrogen vehicle that John Levi is discussing here. Oh, and no worries, Mr. Smith, brother. If it's too late, we can plan for another day. It's all good. But I want to go over when we do do a stream, my brother, to go over a bunch of like Walter Russell's diagrams and the different geometric and numerological as well as astrological, as well as etymological, just coding and structure of the reality and universe that we live in, multiverse, fractal verse, whatever everything that it is. Oh, nice. You did a vid on Montana. I'm gonna have to check that out, and I look forward to seeing that. Like, your work is it's next level, brother. It's on the extra level of just mind blowing every time. But also, what we are going to be talking about is different types of free energy. Oops. And this one right here, excellent channel, I believe, out of China. Good morning, Baz Waz. All run by Symbols, right? Oh man, you break it down into multiple fractals. Like everything, there's just so many meanings hidden in plain sight. Really. Oops, we got the camera down. So this guy right here showing how to build just out of simple little creeks, irrigation, essential mini irrigation canals, agricultural canals on his property, and with little projects, a bit of cement, some rebar, and a couple AC generator motors, you're able to generate some electricity. And well, I'm gonna shut up and just let it play, because he's got at least 50, if not hundreds of these that he's built, and has videos of. It's just mind-blowing if you haven't seen this yet. Pretty awesome and epic do-it-yourself backyard project if you have a little bit of water flow going through. And this is with a very small incline as well. Like, the more you have, the more flow you have, the higher flow rate you have. Obviously, the more hydroelectric one can build and use and utilize within their own property. And it's like nature. Beavers dam up the water to create wetlands. Why can't humans dam up some water to get free, reusable, green energy, make yourself a little bit more self-sufficient, add a little bit more wetlands, and water reserve to your own property and environment? And shout out to this guy right here. He's got like 850,000 subscribers. Absolutely epic. It's got like, gotta look this up. Let's see how many videos. And I should be posting the links in the live chat. Sorry, I'm gonna get on this. First out, shout out to John Levi and his free energy video that I played first, right there in the live chat. And now we have Construction General. That's right. This channel is called Construction General that you're watching, or that we're playing here. Building these do-it-yourself hydroelectric projects out of simple building materials. It's quite epic, really. I intend to try making one of these on my own family property out in BC. That thankfully most of the fires have been contained thanks to the rain. I guess I should try playing. Can I play it at like 2x? How do we do this? There we go. Right. Boom. 2x. Now we're getting somewhere. I love it. Look at this man hustle and work. Cement dam. What is that, a meter? 2.5, 3 feet tall. Cementing the base and the walls to reinforce the waterproof. And once we I want to experiment this doing geopolymer slabs and geopolymer mixtures, and probably get exponential results of just durability and potential from it. That's what it's all about. And shout out to Construction General. Deserves every single one of his 865,000 subscribers. Epic work. And this most recent project video that he's released. Yeah, so this is just for little creeks, right? That practice makes perfect, right, Sherry? So he's done, I think, over 100 of them, at least. And, right, it's edited. Excellent. Like, he's probably has a video editing team, so many angles. Like, that's probably several days of work, if not week. Just from each thing, the different cement, letting it dry, so forth. And then I'm also playing it on 2x as fast. So this guy's just hustling through karate speeds. Man is a legend. Maybe. Hopefully not. No, I think this guy. I'm gonna have to ask in his next live chat. I was in the live chat on this video actually when he premiered it, but ask him to do a walk around that shows all the ones on, if it's on one property that he's built them on, or if they're close enough to do a full tour of a bunch of them. Right, so here just a small amount of LEDs that he's got going off them. Not sure the exact power going out. I've seen several, right? It looks like mini golf, right? Every mini golf should have it. Oh yeah, I highly recommend Construction General. This dude is freaking epic, and he's literally built hundreds of these, several way more advanced. This is like one of his more basics, as you can see there, popping up on his channel. It's something else. All right, what else do we have for today? This, shout out Brittany.
Isn't this in our health textbooks? So Dr. Otto Warburg did research on cellular voltage, and he found out that it's so important when it comes to health. He did not find sick people with high voltage, and he did not find healthy people with low voltage. Here is a chart explaining cellular voltage. Optimal cell voltage is between 100 millivolts and 70 millivolts. And cancer cells usually have a cell voltage below 20 millivolts. But now you're thinking, why is cellular voltage so important to health? I'm about to share with you guys the craziest experiment with the salamander and the frog. Robert O. Becker was so fascinated with the salamander and its ability to heal itself. The salamander has the ability to regenerate its limbs, half a heart, and even a whole eye. So Robert O. Becker decided to cut off a limb from the salamander and the frog. Mind you that the frog doesn't have these healing abilities, so if you cut off a limb, that's the end of it. When he cut off both limbs, the cellular voltage completely dropped for both of them. But for the salamander, there was a surge of energy that went up to negative 30 millivolts, and all of that energy went straight to the limb. Meanwhile, the frog only had a steady rise of voltage and it went back to its normal state. And Robert O. Becker discovered that this surge of energy is what stimulated this regeneration. So Becker wondered if he supplied a current to the frog stump, will it cause regeneration? And when he supplied a low frequency and a low intensity current, you know what happened? The frog regenerated its whole limb. When Nikola Tesla said, if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration, he is not joking.
So shout out to Truth Fairy Brittany for finding that one on TikTok and reposting to YouTube. And I've actually now figured out how to do that. And a few of my shorts recently, I've transferred over from my new TikTok onto YouTube shorts of like the fires and stuff. So able to get these other TikTok content creators sharing this crazy information, posting these little epic tidbits. We're gonna
Isn't
replay
this
this
in our health
one more
textbooks?
time.
So Dr. Otto Warburg did research on cellular voltage and he found out that it's so important when it comes to health. He did not find sick people with high voltage and he did not find healthy people with low voltage. Here is a chart explaining cellular voltage. Optimal cell voltage is between 100 millivolts and 70 millivolts. And cancer cells usually have a cell voltage below 20 millivolts. But now you're thinking, why is cellular voltage so important to health? I'm about to share with you guys the craziest experiment with the salamander and the frog. Robert O. Becker was so fascinated with the salamander and its ability to heal itself. The salamander has the ability to regenerate its limbs, half a heart, and even a whole eye. So Robert O. Becker decided to cut off a limb from the salamander and the frog. Mind you that the frog doesn't have these healing abilities, so if you cut off a limb, that's the end of it. When he cut off both limbs, the cellular voltage completely dropped for both of them. But for the salamander, there was a surge of energy that went up to negative 30 millivolts, and all of that energy went straight to the limb. Meanwhile, the frog only had a steady rise of voltage and it went back to its normal state. And Robert O. Becker discovered that this surge of energy is what stimulated this regeneration. So Becker wondered if he supplied a current to the frog stump, will it cause regeneration? And when he supplied a low frequency and a low intensity current, you know what happened? The frog regenerated its whole limb. When Nikola Tesla said, if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration, he is not joking.
All right, shout out Coach Red, I guess that said. Now, for the next part that I'm going to play here while I get myself a bit more organized for the final presentation that I will do, as I was expecting a little bit more of a panel when I posted the link at the start, and sadly it was a little bit too late for Agent Smith to join in tonight, understandably so. But we have Paranoid American, shout out Thomas, joining with us tomorrow night with the real science. We also have Jeremy Reese, alien scientist, Jeremiah Pop, exotic propulsion, aka Join the Technicians, as well as Mike is gonna most likely join in. Actually, probably all three mics. There's three epic different mics. We have material science Mike, or metamaterial science Mike, I should say. We have Mike Faraday Research, and then we also have, well, maybe Michael Boyd might pop in, or Mike from Space might pop in as well. There's just so many epic, or Mikey does, who knows? It's going to be good. Also, Gerald, WPG Enlighten for Truth, and the main star, Shelby, and is my man Thomas, Paranoid American, going to be teaching us, helping us with, well, Jeremy Reese, alien scientists, epic disclosure music video that we're trying to make and record. And if everything goes to plan, it's going to be a heck of a show tomorrow night that you don't want to miss. So for the next little bit, in preparation for that show, as Thomas sent me this and was like, you need to watch this mofo before we do the show, as it will help you out figuring out what we're doing in Oops, wrong one. I was trying to do this one, maybe. No, I need to remove a couple. Here we go. And there we go. Shout out to Paranoid American, and that in preparation for tomorrow's stream and making and using AI, introduction to AI generated media, images, voices, and so forth. So let's play this and watch it together and learn from Paranoid American, my man Thomas PA, who will be joining us tomorrow live on Real Science as we make the video of Alien Scientist Disclosure. There we go. Sent it. Now it's in the live chat. Please do go follow and subscribe and hit the like to all of
the power of AI. The battle for tomorrow starts today. Welcome to Paranoid Programming.
Hey, we're going to start something a little bit different here. So a whole lot of people have been asking me about my tool set and how I do some of the different AI kind of creative audio, video, whatever. So I'm going to go through some of my tool set for anyone that's interested.
AI.
And if you don't even know who I am, you can please follow me here at Paranoid American on YouTube. Hit the little subscribe. But I've basically been publishing conspiracy theory and occult research comic books since about 2012. I've got a whole little breakdown of everything I've kind of accomplished and a bunch of different artists I've worked with. So just take a look at the paranoidamerican.com website if you like what you see here and want to see, I guess, some more of it in action. And then if you want to know more about the man behind the Paranoid American, I've got my own little sort of resume up here, but you can see, I've worked at Disney for 10 years. I was in Air Force, also as a computer programmer. I've been jumping all over different industries for a while. So, and then even before that, I was doing professional music for
Pause it for a moment and shout out to Thomas, Paranoid American, and that we share several parallel working past myself before getting into streaming. I've done a lot of graphic design with the silk screening and printing, owning my own printing, silk screening, as well as music production with a recording studio and past company and promotions company events, doing shows, producing several albums, and that I actually need to get my old hard drives out and start publishing. So I've got about 1,000 different unreleased epic songs, as well as welcome Anthony Williams. Good day, sir. Good to have you, brother. And what I was rambling on about before playing this Paranoid American AI tooltips with Thomas is that we will be covering some more Searle effect, some of the Maui fire footage, and more into the hydrogen energy and electrolysis alchemy in part 2 of tonight's stream.
A lot of different news, MTV, VH1, Cartoon Network. If you were listening to a lot of Cartoon Network in the early 2000s, 2005, 2006, me and Flying Lotus got a whole bunch of tracks put on all of their little interstitial bumps. So you go to bumpworthy.com, you can find Sound Scientist stuff. But anyways, this is all just a quick little rundown of, I've been doing comics, I've been doing programming, I've been doing music and video. I worked with a lot of different artists. Here's some backstage thing from a Hard Rock Live at Orlando from 2006. This is kind of like as I got out of the music industry. But anyways, that's plenty enough about me. And really what you're here for is to learn a little bit more about AI. So I've got a couple of different things that I'm going to go over really quickly. I'm going to show you some tool sets, and then I'll show you some actual, AI in progress, and maybe some of the next steps that you might want to go to. So if there's any specific thing that I cover real briefly, add it in the comments, and I'll be sure to come back and make another video, maybe specifically on that. So hopefully everybody's kind of already heard about Midjourney at some point. It feels like it's almost ubiquitous. If you just go to midjourney.com and look at the showcase and recent, one quick little thing is that you can click on any of these images that comes up. So let's say you really like this one. You can just, of course, it's going to be a little bit slow, but you can click on these guys if you're logged in, and on this little 3 dots, there'll be like a copy, and you can select copy all and then the prompt, and it'll show you exactly what the person typed in and get this exact image out of Midjourney. You can even get the exact seed if you want to rebuild the exact same image. But anyways, I'm hoping that you probably already know about Midjourney. If you've ever used Midjourney and you type a certain phrase in, sometimes if it gets violent or if it gets risque or political, you get a big frowny message that says, you know, you're not allowed to type that in. So eventually you're going to want to grow out of Midjourney. And I really do recommend this website, Mage.space. It was kind of what got me started branching out for Midjourney and looking at way more options. So like right now, if I go in, I'm just logged in as like an anonymous account. I don't even have an account signed up here. I'm in an anonymous browser, and you can see that there's all these different models that you can pick from. And some of them range from realistic to like collage style to art style. The only one that's really accessible without logging in and creating a free account is this SDXL, which stands for Stable Diffusion XL, which we'll get into later. But basically, this is more than enough to get you kind of started. So an example is something that you definitely couldn't type in the Midjourney, but isn't necessarily horrible. I could say Abraham Lincoln body slamming Greta Thunberg. So that would probably get you some kind of a warning in Midjourney that says, you know, sensitive material, even though it's not, you know, it's silly. It's not like some crazy hate speech thing, but that's what it'll get flagged as. So this is going to just be using the regular SDXL free model, and it'll generate a single image. And once you go into this advanced, you can, it's going to make me log in, but in the advanced menu, you can select all sorts of different options, sizes, seeds, and I'm going to get way into more of that in a second here. So I'll let that keep cooking. We'll come back to it. Oh, actually, here it is. So he's not exactly body slamming her yet, but that's where it takes a little bit of the prompting. So these are the 2 main ones that I recommend. If you're brand new and you just want to kind of dabble, definitely sign up for Midjourney. I think it's like $10, $15 for like a full month. And I would just do that and use up all the credits and get used to it. And then MageSpace is completely free. You can keep generating on this one SDXL model. And once you feel like you've outgrown that, then it might be ready to start looking at some of the other options that I'll get into way later here. So those are the 2 main art options. We also got a lot of video options. And this is kind of where I think the video is going to bring it to the next level pretty soon. I've been talking about real-time, you know, dynamic, generally videos. They had something in Black Mirror. You can kind of get a preview of what's to come here. So for example, one of my favorites right now is Runway Gen 2. You saw in the intro, you probably seen a bunch of different intros. The cool thing is you can either just type a single phrase in and then it'll generate a video from that, or you can upload an image. So you can develop a workflow where you upload an image that you created in Midjourney, or maybe you created it in MageSpace, or just an image that you've had laying around. You can just upload it to Gen 2 and generate like a 5 to 10 second video out of each one. It takes a lot of different generations. You're going to learn a lot about that with AI, is that you can only control the chaos so much. So sometimes you just have to keep clicking generate until you get something that you really like. So Runway ML, highly recommended to check this one out. There's another thing called Animate Diff. This one's a little bit more involved because you might need to install it in a cloud or on a local machine, but basically here's some examples where it's generating different variations of the same image and then kind of interpolating between them. So you can get some really good results from this alone. Like that rabbit's a great example. There's also something called Deforum. This is one of my favorites to work with because there's so many different extensions you can work with it. There's something called ParseQ. We'll do a whole video on Parsec. But this one, it basically will render a sequence of images, and you can interpolate it from one prompt to the next, and it'll do these little interstitials. It's way more complicated than I want to get into for this particular video, but just another one of my very favorite tools, the forum. Highly recommended. Here's one that doesn't require too much of your setup or anything like that. You can just go to did.com, d-id.com. And when you sign up for a free account, you can upload your own images of someone, your own audio, and they'll make this little kind of like moving video. A couple tips: you might want to generate someone that's already got a chroma key in the background. So after they animate the head and they animate the person talking, it's easy to mask back out. There's a bunch of cool tips for that. But this one, you get like a free minute to test out. So if you just sign up for a new account a few times, maybe you can try it out enough to see if you like it. And then another video related AI is this EB synth. And this one is takes a little bit more of intention. You kind of like figure out the specific keyframes that you want to have in the video, and then it'll interpolate between those. We'll maybe do a whole video on this one. This requires a whole kind of set of tools, but as you can see, the results are pretty amazing. And that one's completely free, I believe, too. So those are the video. Let's talk about some audio ones. I really, really recommend this one. This is Music Gen. I actually use this as well for the intro music that you saw in this video. So I might go in here and just type in like lo-fi, terrorcore, Patriot theme. And if I just hit generate, this will crank away in the background. This is on Hugging Face. I'm not even logged in. This is a free everything. You can generate as many as you want in these little 12-second clips. If you want to go longer, it gets a little bit more complicated and costs money, but for absolutely free, no login or anything, you can go in here and type any sort of music or sound you want and generate it, and then download it. And we'll come back to that after it's finished downloading. There's another one, AI audio, generated audio, called Riff Fusion. And if you care about the nerdy aspects of this one, it's basically using stable diffusion, which is what MageSpace and what kind of Midjourney is using behind the scenes. So it's making graphics, but what they've done is they've trained graphics on the audio spectrum, like a visual depiction of actual songs. So they are basically generating images of songs and then turning it back into audio. They all kind of have a very similar lo-fi sound to them. But again, completely free. You can type in anything you want. I'll do a Paranoid American theme. And then just by clicking on it, it'll start generated on the server and it'll play it back in here. I'm going to make sure it doesn't actually play there. UberDuck, this one's kind of fun if you've seen a video on this, but they kind of trained it specifically to do raps, and you can train it on your own voices. You can pick from their own versions of it. But if you've ever wondered how they're making like this Eminem rap or all these kind of like AI generated, a lot of them are either using UberDuck or training their own models. So if you want to play around with that, check UberDuck out. There's also Audio Gen. So just like Music Gen, this one kind of caters more towards music. So does Riff Fusion. But Audio Gen is anything. So you can, like it says here, Rhodes piano progression. But you could just say like jackhammer on a busy street, and that'll also give you some AI generated like ambient sounds of some type street. Click generate and see if this first one is done. Yeah, so it doesn't sound great, but it's definitely generated music. Again, a lot of these you'll have to just sit here and just generate like maybe 10, 15, 20 times. And every once in a while, you'll kind of hit pay dirt. So you want to just kind of like save all of the ones that sound sort of good and then go back through them like later on. And sometimes you edit them together. It's a lot of curation. So you're not making the stuff, but you're curating the stuff. So that's Audio Gen does. Yeah, let's try this one. This will just be like noises outside. And yeah, it sounds like a jackhammer. Even if you can't hear it, just trust me, it sounds like a jackhammer. And then finally, 11 Labs. This is the one that I probably get asked about the most. This one, you can just go out and find any person talking, as long as there's not a lot of background noise, no music, no sound effects or anything. But if you can find a monologue, politicians work great. But anyone that's like doing a TED Talk, for example, you just make sure you get only them talking for at least I would, my opinion, like 15, 20, 30 seconds. And you can upload like 5 to 10 clips of them, all different variations, and then model someone's voice. And it takes like 10 to 15 seconds, and they sound great immediately. You kind of have to play around with the settings a little bit, just like every other AI solution here. But yeah, 11 Labs by far is one of the most impressive, like right out of the box. And there's versions that you can run locally, but I haven't found anything that is as reliable or as convenient to use as 11 Labs. So yeah, I'm not getting paid for endorsing any of this stuff. In fact, most of them probably don't want me using any of their solutions. But so then we've kind of got like this toolbox. Once you've generated a bunch of AI assets, you've got your art from maybe MageSpace or Midjourney. Maybe you're taking the artwork you created there and then running it through Gen 2, or you're running it through Animate Diff, or you're running it through DID. Whatever you're doing with all that, eventually you're going to want to composite all of that stuff together. So I mean, here's where I turn into corporate shill. If you want, you can sail the 7 seas and find your own solutions. But After Effects is my go-to for compositing. It's kind of like a motion for Photoshop, a little bit more complicated than Premiere, but it gives you a lot more control over stuff. Sometimes I will fine-tune the things that I make in video and art and audio, put them together in After Effects, and then just kind of render out the most extensive clips, and then take all that clips and put it into Premiere and figure it out from there. But Premiere or DaVinci or whatever you want to use, Vegas, all of the video editing I think is fine, but I haven't found a lot of great replacements for After Effects in my opinion. And then if anything requires 3D, Cinema 4D is my go-to, which is also convenient because it's now baked right into After Effects. There's 3D models. You double click it, it opens up Cinema 4D. Again, 7 Cs or get like a educator discount or something. And then a little bit more into the niche, but I love the Trap Code series. Red Giant purchased it. Red Giant also makes a lot of good stuff. They make this Universe series, which I do for a lot of transitions and effects. You probably saw some of those as well in the intro. So those are kind of my go-to, corporate solutions. The Adobe Suite, specifically for After Effects, Photoshop, Illustrator, everything. Cinema 4D, especially if you want to start getting a little bit more into the 3D realm. And then if you really just want some finishers and stuff, I'm not going to highly suggest this one because it gives me nonstop problems, lots of crashes and driver updates. But I'm still, I'm baked into using this one. And then a couple of offhands. Topaz Lab is actually really good. If you don't want to set up your whole AI rig or figure out how to set it up in the cloud, they make great software that updates quickly and all sorts of like upscaling video and images. So highly recommended for a very practical and quick use of AI. And then finally, Ableton. That's probably what I use the most for audio that costs money. I've found this was worth every penny I've put into it so far. It's just so convenient to use. I love it. But I'm not going to go on a big Ableton splurge here because that's not what this is about. And then finally, for the tool set, we got some free versions. So Reaper, highly, highly recommended. It's completely free. They'll give you a nag screen forever, but you can keep using it indefinitely. And I've been through Pro Tools and Cubase and Logic and almost every IDE you can mention. I started on Cakewalk way back in the day. And Reaper is kind of like the best of all of them combined and then made free. So it's very, very hard to beat this particular editor. Here's a free, kind of like an offhand one, but sometimes when you're making clips or you need like a clip from a big movie, or if you've got like this 3-hour 20 gig or bigger video file, it's a lot harder to work with than if you just kind of take little clips out of it. So there's this GitHub account, Defaker, but he makes this program called WebM Generator, which is very, very convenient to use. Highly recommend this one. Very niche, but if you haven't heard of it, it's worth mentioning. And then Handbrake. If you don't know about Handbrake, this just lets you convert different formats very easily. So if you don't want to use like a website, there you go. So all right, let's get into some of the more specifics. Let's say that you're doing Midjourney, you upgrade, you start playing with MageSpace or some other option out there, and you start going through like all of these advanced options, or you want to like look at these different little checkpoints. Well, again, this is where MageSpace really kind of comes out because they've got all of these checkpoints. They've got LoRa's, they've got embeddings. I'll talk about what all that stuff is later. but they've got all of it already pre-uploaded, pre-configured, so you don't have to worry too much about it. But if you then, want to evolve outside of Mage Space and start using even more models than they offer, then you're going to want to start running this stuff either locally or in the cloud. So first off, the prices on these things have been fluctuating crazy. Like, I could have sworn that I looked this up a few months ago and these guys were $80 to $100 shipped. But anyways, you can get yourself a 1080 Ti. This is probably the lowest end card I'd recommend, but you can get it because it's got over 8 gigs of VRAM. But anyways, for around $200 shipped, you can get a card that's capable of doing fairly slow AI generation, but it can run almost any AI that you want to throw at it. Again, just very slowly. But it's a fairly low entry point for $200 if you don't already have a video card, or if you've got one that's a little bit slower. Bam, $200, you can get into the game. And then on the upper end, you've got like this 4090. That's pretty much the best consumer one that you can get now, unless you want to buy specifically for AI cards. But now we're talking like $1,600 just for the card. That's before you get the power supply and everything else. So for most people, this is like the full spectrum, right? You're going to spend $200 plus whatever it costs to do the rest of the upgrade, or you're going to build a brand new machine and it's going to cost you probably like $3,000 plus. Now there's like the 4070, there's the 3060, I think, is supposed to be pretty decent in between. So mileage may vary, but again, like at the very, very least, if you want to build your own machine, it shouldn't cost more than this $200 1080. You can even get slower and smaller cards, but this is a pretty decent baseline, and they're pretty cheap for what you get out of it. Here's another option. So there's websites like RunPod, for example, and many different examples of this one, but you can set up a 4090 out in the cloud and then just pay, for example, 64 cents an hour. And then as long as you've got it running out there, you're paying for it to just kind of be on. So this is maybe appealing to some people, although, this is kind of like a pay-as-you-go sort of operation. If there's no chance that you're going to build your own machine, this might be the only thing that you've got going for you. Again, once you've kind of like grown out of this Mage Space, Midjourney, and any of these other like app solutions, once you want full control, that's when you might want to run your own install. And then if you want to get into running it on RunPod, there's a whole series on RunPod's blog. They kind of show you how to set it all up. But I'm not going to go through all this because like each of these videos is like an hour and a half, 2 hours. And this is just going to be a fairly quick overview still. So first of all, where did I start in this AI? I started pretty much at the beginning, mid of 2020, and I started training my own StyleGAN networks. And StyleGAN was kind of like now I guess an antiquated version of what a lot of this AI trading is. But I was just trying to create my dog, like a model that would just render my dog out over and over. And I spent a lot of time just figuring out how the StyleGAN worked, how the models worked, how to train them, how to do them in the cloud, what hardware it required. So I guess fast forward a couple years, I've released a couple of these digital NFT things. That thing came and went. If you want us to know more about some of the work that went into those, though, you can find this interview that I've got with Isaac Weishaupt, where we talk about, the generation and everything. But once NFTs started dying out, and the reason I bring up NFTs is because that's where I actually got interested in doing some of this AI art. Because I was thinking, what if we could, make the AI training and put it on the blockchain and whatever. A lot of boring kind of tech stuff in that. But I ended up, here's some proof that, before NFTs were even blowing up, all the way back in 2020, I was putting out MK Ultra NFTs, and they've got a nice little traction history. These were all sold before Ether was worth a whole lot, but so this is kind of what geared me into doing AI. And then I've got a couple examples of like maybe some recent Midjourney projects that I was kind of working through. So this one here is from Midjourney 5. This is like one of the later ones. And the prompt is like a whole complicated system, but essentially it just reliably generates decent hands, and they're all kind of like got this patriotic, arcane, sort of like tarot card look to them. And again, these are cherry picked, very deeply. Like you're not going to see any of the bad generations or the weird, ugly hand ones. This is one of my favorites. And then I've got some other one. I don't know if this is going to load, but these are from maybe like 2 or 3 months prior with slightly different prompts and a little bit older version of Midjourney, just to show the difference between them. And this one was kind of like a tessellation series. I had the word tessellation in a lot of the prompts, so that's why you see a lot of these repeating geometric patterns. But these are pretty much the similar prompt minus that tessellation. And this is again an example of like, if I just have a quick idea, I might pop over into Midjourney. But once I start hitting the limits of Midjourney, or it starts slapping my wrist because I asked it to do like a Hillary Clinton chokehold or something, right? That's when I start doing local runs. So graduated out of MageSpace to do your own models. So one of them here is this is called SD Next, which is based on Automatic 1111. This is a modification of it. But just as an example, the same thing that you could have typed in what was it, in MageSpace, right? We did Abraham Lincoln body slamming Greta Thunberg. This one might actually look better on MageSpace because they probably have more resources to draw from. But I'm just going to put it in here just wholesale. 512 by 512. We're just going to hit generate and see what the hell comes out of this. And this is using Realistic Vision 5.1. I'll explain what that is. And it's actually not too horrible. I mean, the sampling method, like I can go around and change some of these settings to make it a little bit more specific. So here, if I hit this again, we might get a slightly higher version. There you go. And you've got Greta's here fighting each other. So this one is a very simplistic. There's a lot you can do with it. This is where you can run deform. You can add all sorts of extensions. I'm not going to get into all the different details, but highly recommended. This is probably the one that you would want to install either in the cloud or on your own machine, and it's incredibly easy to do so. That you download from their GitHub, you run a couple files, and it automatically gets like all the drivers and all the libraries and everything you need. There's another website too, now that I'm just thinking of it, we're here, called Pinocchio.computer. Yeah. This is worth a look if you're having problems installing things or getting the right version set up. This is kind of like a self-contained environment. I've used it a few times for AudioCraft and some of the other audio ones that were being really difficult to install locally. So highly recommended for this one. You can install Comfy UI, which is the one I'm going to show you in a second, and also this Stable Diffusion Web UI. This is the Automatic 1111 I mentioned. That is kind of where this one came from. So now we're going to see Comfy UI, which is one of my favorites to use, but it's sort of like each one is really good at very specific things. So I haven't found like the all-in-one silver bullet package yet. So Comfy UI I like because it is so easy to create a workflow that is exactly what you need. You don't have to sort of just make the best out of the tools. Like this one, the UI is great, but you can only have so much control. Whereas this node-based, you can feed different effects and different images and different prompts and as much granular detail as you want. So just a really quick example, if I take that exact same prompt and we say Abraham Lincoln, I'm going to take out this negative prompt, and we'll just queue that up. And it's even cool. You can see exactly what step it's running. There it goes, decoding. And then bam, here we've got Abraham Lincoln maybe dancing with Greta Thunberg. So anyways, these are two different ways that you can kind of like generate, and these are both using Stable Diffusion. These are both using the same exact model, Realistic Vision version 5.1. I think this one's actually using another one called 5.26. But each model has its own little nuances. These are my go-tos. I'll usually start something in Comfy UI if I want to get really, really specific with it, and then maybe flesh it out more and refine it in SD Next, because I find that SD Next or Automatic 1111, both of them seem to have better consistent results. Like I kind of know what I'm molding and what I'll get. Even though you get a lot of granular detail out of Comfy UI, if you're trying to get something that just like looks really good, and sometimes it's probably just me, but I can't get something to look perfect in Comfy UI. Sometimes I can get it so close to what I need it to look like, but once I bring it into SD Next, I can use this image to image or a few of the other options, and it's a little bit easier. But I think with enough practice, Comfy UI can probably overpower some of these other ones. And then finally, it was hard to figure out what order to describe all these in. Like I was mentioning here, Mage Space, here's this SDXL. Midjourney, you don't really get an option to pick what model you want to use. You can pass them a version flag and tell it version 4 or 5.1 or 5.2, but it's a little bit different than, for example, Mage Space. So I'm not gonna pick one here, but for example, if I go to the very end here, Tunify, right? This Tunify one, if I click learn more, this is a very specific style. So if I were to use this model and type something in, I'm going to get some artwork that looks close to this style that it was trained on. This one is a very niche version. This SDXL is generic. Like, it's great at doing a lot of different things. If you look through these, some do like movie scenes, some do raw photography, some do anime, some do Western animation where it doesn't have the Eastern kind of like anime look to it. Here's like a Pixar kind of style. So these are all different models if you know exactly what kind of aesthetic you're looking for. But let's say that you outgrow whatever the 20 or 50 or even 100 models that they might have on Mage Space, and you want something more specific, or you want to train your own. And that's why you would use one of these kind of local versions. So I'll give you an example. If I go to this website, Civitai, I had this loaded up before. I mean, I guess I could show this, but the cool thing about Civitai is this image is AI generated. And if I scroll down, it'll show you the exact prompt that was used. It'll show you the negative prompt. It'll show you what sampler they used, everything, all the settings, so that I could actually recreate an image that was nearly identical. There's always going to be a little bit of variation because of, just entropy in the universe. But I can make a damn near identical image to this through one of my local like comfy UIs here. I'm not going to do it live just because it would take more time to explain, but this is cool because I can get to this baseline and then start tweaking it to my to whatever I want it to be. And this is just an example of one model. So here we got like a Juggernaut model, and just examples like a Juggernaut, for example, is good for doing a combination of real things and fake things. Certain models, if they're only trained on real pictures, they don't do great with, say, giving a cat a suit of armor or giving a lady blue skin, because a model that's completely trained on realism might not have that same concept. Similar, here we've got like very high detailed artwork. This one almost looks like a photograph. Here we've got a very realistic, maybe 3D rendering or photography. So Juggernaut is kind of one of these generic ones. It's great at a lot of stuff. 526 Mix, that's the one that rendered this one out right here. You can see it right there, 526 Mix. And this one has its own kind of aesthetic where there's more dramatic shadows and highlights. It kind of has this like classic look to it. And then you can go through and just see all the different things that people, lots of memes are on here. But all the different types of images people can generate from these. And again, on Civitai, like if I really like the way that this particular image looks, you can usually go and read the exact prompt. This one says paper cut art of a queen petting a dragon. So all you had to do was type that in and select some of these other settings using this SD model, and it would have pumped something out. Here, I mean, let's do this one really quick. So I don't have the same sampler and all the seed and everything, so we can just see the variation. We'll just do the exact same prompt. Paper cut art of a queen petting a dragon. Bam. And it looks decent. I mean, and again, you could just sit here and hit generate over and over, or do a lot of cool tricks where I can hit this once and it generates a whole array of variations on this. That'll probably be my very next video in Comfy UI. What else we got here? Here's a Dream Shaper model. This one is really, really popular because it's great at doing lots of animation, artwork, non-realism and realism. Huge kind of variety. I kind of like the all-in-one checkpoints. And then as you can see up here, there's all these different versions. So there's version 8, version 7, version 6, and it doesn't always mean that the newest version is the best one. It just means they've been training it more and it keeps getting more and more biased, or maybe less biased. But sometimes if you find a certain trainer that you really like, you might download all the versions and try them all out. So we'll get into that in another upcoming video. And then a lot of cool like intricated stuff. For example, you've got 8 in paintings. So this version is just for doing regular prompts. But if I wanted to like generate this image of the guy and then change his face or change his eyes, that would be called in-painting. So then you can download a specific version of the model that's only made for that. So I'll do that one in another upcoming video. And then another great example of why you might want to use Civitai, if you want to train your own models. So I've been contributing some open source models to this site for a while, and I like to fill out any of the characters that weren't on there that kind of should be. So we've got like Marjorie Taylor Greene, for example, wearing a tinfoil hat. We got her as Sailor Moon. We've got her as Wonder Woman. It's for fun, you know what I mean? But then we've also got like Ghislaine Maxwell. We've got Ron DeSantis. Here's one that's apolitical. This was trained on crystal skulls of all different kinds. I think it was maybe like 40 to 50 images that I kind of hand selected and then trained this for a couple days. And now you can kind of feed in all sorts of interesting prompts. Here's like a crystal apple skull. So this is just things that, you know, wouldn't have existed in reality. And this is one of my favorite projects, I guess, is making these weird embeddings. I've got another one for like Ultimate Warrior. I'm not going to go through all of them. Please just go to Civitai if you like this stuff and look through some of these models. We've got Alex Jones here. There he is. This is one of the favorites. And then, yeah, if you liked this, please subscribe to my Paranoid American channel. I'm going to have an entire series where I'll go down into intricate detail exactly how to set these up, how to use them. We'll do like anyone in the comments that wants to call out, hey, make this specific image or show me how to make, you know, this person talk or train this specific voice. Just let me know and we'll get into all of that. So yeah, check me out on paranoidamerican.com. And also, please check out the Paranoid American Patreon. This is basically what makes all of this possible. And you have got a little 18 plus because there's some spicy stuff that comes up in here sometimes. But I'll put more in-depth stuff on here. It'll be early on the Patreon, but it'll probably all make it out onto YouTube eventually. But if you want to see more of these, please, Paranoid American Patreon, Paranoid American YouTube channel, subscribe, like, smash, peace.
They said it was forbidden. They said it was dangerous. They were right. Introducing the Paranoid American Homunculus Owner's Manual. Dive into the arcane, into the hidden corners of the occult. This isn't just a comic. It's a hidden tome of supernatural power. All original artwork illustrating the groundbreaking research of Juan Ayala, one of the only living homunculologists of our time. Learn how to summon your own homunculus, an enigma wrapped in the fabric of reality itself, their power at your fingertips, their existence, your secret. Explore the mysteries of the Aristotelian, the spiritual, the Paracelsian, the Crowleyan homunculus, ancient knowledge lost to time, now unearthed in this forbidden tale. This comic book holds truths not meant for the light of day, knowledge that was buried, feared, and shunned. Are you ready to uncover the hidden, the Paranoid American Homunculus?
All right, I'm gonna pause it there. Pretty much done. Excellent episode and educational lesson by Thomas there. Everyone sitting through and watching, we've all learned something. And Anthony still with us. Thanks for staying through. And what did you take from that, my friend? Anthony, you're muted, good sir.
I thought it was pretty incredible art. One thing that I've been really wondering is, are any of these AIs physics and anatomy based for their characters, or are they finding similar images?
Well, that's the thing, is that we started with Thomas, Paranoid American, that he's going to be coming back for our third installment. Actually, no, fourth installment of him with the real science tomorrow night. The images that I have in the background here, that on I think the first episode together, and we had Jeremiah pop in with us, and Jeremiah was giving Thomas all of these super technical, well, as was I, super technical different references to enter into the AI generators. And so like intergalactic life and like universal life and sort of stuff came up with like what I'm showing right now, and then like entering in different fractal patterns and references, as well as then like asking for like physics models would generate stuff like this and this and these ones. Like it was fascinating stuff that comes out of it, and we're going to be advancing it even further tomorrow night with Thomas, Paranoid American, and working on Jeremy Reese, Alien Scientists, recording and video of UFO UAP, a disclosure video that he shared with us earlier today in the after stream. That was pretty epic. And we will also be going into the metamaterials a lot more. And I've been setting up in the background while listening here, boiling the water, getting salt, getting the jars, and I'm about to switch over some of the electrodes in some of these electrolysis jars here to demonstrate some hydrogen production, as well as making some more monoatomic silver and getting the alchemy going, as that's the part 2 of tomorrow's Real Science episode as well. And all of these advancements with coming out in superconductivity, the nanotechnology, and what I need to get tested with these red metamaterials, white monoatomics, and
just your mono gold?
Get them, gold and silver on these ones, and gold and silver in the purple as well.
Oh, cool.
Fascinating stuff. So looking forward to sending samples off to Falcon Labs and Jeremy Reese over there, as well as Mike and the whole team, and of course Mark Sokol. And yeah, hopefully they're able to make it on tomorrow night when we do the Real Science episode 44. It is going to be, and the second half also being the megaliths and the geopolymer technology, taking that in with Bob Greenyer's work and that whole community, and into the next APEC coming up here in a week's time. Oh, we got Mike Does as well. And if anybody wants to hop on, once again, here is the link to join. And we're going to cover a few more things here tonight, including the next video play of some of John Searle, the Searle technology SEG generator, and continuing back to the free energy aspect of theme of things and science and work and experiments that we're doing. And we got, it's 4 a.m. in Miami. Is that where you are, Mike Does, in out of Florida, brother? I know that's where Roy, shout out Vinny St. Vincent channel, and all of his work with Ed Leedscallen's Flywheel is.
I am here too. I was hoping I could get you to get a little bit earlier.
Right, so tomorrow night's going to be a lot earlier of a stream. We're going to be doing, I think, 6 p.m. Pacific, I believe. Yeah, 7 p.m. my time, 9 p.m. Eastern. Yes.
Okay. That sounds good.
That, I believe that's what it is. Nice, on Miami Beach. Epic, Mike. So feel free tomorrow night, Mike, if you want to hop on. I think Mike Faraday Research also will be on, as well as Gerald, Jeremiah. Anthony, you're welcome back. And we'll have Thomas, Jeremy Reese as well. And all right, what am I trying to get to here? Playing the next video on the SEG generator of John Searle. But here we go. And I preload everything on Twitter. Shout out Elon Musk and his taking over of what he now calls X, and the fact that it blocks YouTube ads, and that's a wonderful thing. Because who wants to watch more ads while we're live, right? Like, here we go.
Hey, does Cyril still have? I believe Cyril used to have a lab in California. Is that still active?
I think a little. It gets briefly covered in this little video. Jason Verbelli was most associated with the Cyril Society of America, and we've had him on APEC before, and I know he's pretty ticked since YouTube removed both of his channels about a year ago out of nowhere. Quite ridiculous. So hopefully we're able to get him back on, and hopefully YouTube restores his channels, because it's absolute BS what they did. All right, the SEG, here we go.
Thank you for joining us on Golden Age Technology. On today's show, we are going to introduce a remarkable scientist and inventor, Professor John Roy Robert Searle. Inspiring, genius, visionary, these are just a few of the terms one might use to describe the inventor of the Searle Effect Generator, or SEG. Professor Searle, whose incredible contributions to the advancement of energy technology have remained largely unknown to the world until now, may very well be recognized and thanked in the future for revolutionizing all forms of travel and solving the Earth's energy needs. Professor Searle was born on May 2nd, 1932 in Wantage, England. It was at the age of 4.5 that John Searle began to have unusual dreams, which occurred in pairs. The dreams came twice a year for 6 years and passed on detailed instructions for building an energy generator to the receptive young mind. Having realized the message behind these nighttime tutorials, John Searle began to put his dream into reality by producing his first SEG at age 14. The SEG is a free energy generator. It consists of 3 concentric rings, each composed of 4 different materials, also concentrically attached to each other. The 3 rings are fixed to a base. Surrounding each of the rings and free to rotate around them are rollers, typically 12 on the first ring, 22 on the next, and 32 on the outer ring. Surrounding the outer rollers are coils, which are connected in various configurations to supply either AC or DC current. After making the first SEG, young Professor Searle set it in motion in the presence of an older Welsh friend. At that point, the generous plates and rollers quickly began accelerating, eventually reaching a point where the unit proceeded to fly up through the ceiling. The flight of the SEG was entirely unexpected and fueled a friend's enthusiasm for John Searle's work.
See you tomorrow.
He then sponsored Professor Searle to make more of the devices. Professor Searle then began experimenting with the machine's flying abilities. In the next phase of his work, with the units firmly fixed to the floor, he set about channeling the energy from the SEG into usable power, which he later used to supply his own home with electricity. As far back as 1965, Professor Searle designed and flew his levity discs, or inverse gravity vehicles, IGVs, which incorporated his SEG technology. Anything that runs electrically can be driven by an SEG with no resulting pollution and requiring no fuel. If his marvelous technology is perfected and adopted by all, Professor Searle's gift to the world would mean cleaner skies and waterways, the abundant regrowth of nature, and improved health as the toxic emissions from current energy sources would end. Other benefits would include faster, more efficient air travel, safer and more accessible space travel, and affordable, clean, sustainable energy for all citizens of the world. Professor Searle also said there are health benefits to SCG devices. He once came into contact with some very hot oil. He said that having an SCG in his home sped up the healing process of the burn much faster than usual. Within 14 days, there was no mark left from his injury. Professor Searle attributed the SCG's healing property to the nature of its operation, which changes the surrounding negative atmosphere in a place to a positive one. Professor Searle also had a close friend who was told by doctors he did not have much time to live. Professor Searle gave him an extra SCG he had, and within 4 weeks the friend had made a remarkable turnaround in health. After these brief messages, we'll return with more about Professor John Searle and his work. Please stay tuned to Supreme Master Television. You're watching Golden Age Technology. Mass production and Professor John Searle developing a new SCG device. Given that SCGs are currently not in production and the machines are still in the testing phase, the SCG has been projected by Professor Searle to cost approximately $32,000 US. However, this is the only investment involved. To actually operate the machine, there are no further associated costs. Also, when put into mass production, Professor Searle projects the price per unit would drop to about $1,000 US due to the economies of scale involved. What are the future possibilities of the Levity Disk or the IGV? In a 2007 internet radio interview on the program Free Energy Now, with host Sterling D. Allen, Professor Searle stated that once the SCGs are in production and his company is earning money, he would be willing to put his efforts into something that could reach the moon. Based on his calculations, an IGV could reach the moon in about an hour. He also estimated that an IGV could reach Mars in about 2 months' time. During a retreat with our association members in Austria in February 2008, Supreme Master Ching Hai was informed of Professor Searle's work and the challenges he faced. She immediately expressed her loving concern for his dedicated endeavors and sent a $7,000 US contribution along with her well wishes. Professor Searle responded with his sincere thanks, stating that Supreme Master Ching Hai's efforts were much appreciated and she is indeed a wonderful lady. Currently, John Searle has his headquarters in Thailand, where steady progress is being made on perfecting the SCG. Although neither the SCG nor the IGV is yet ready for public release, he says, "I'm working on a project to create a better world for all humankind regardless." A video on his life and the SCG, entitled The John Searle Story, a documentary of the life of John Searle, is currently being prepared by filmmakers. We'd like to close with a selected portion of a message that Professor Searle has posted on his website, which is meant for all visitors to read. The passage demonstrates his caring for our planet and its future. There is much that each and every one of us can do to help. Recycle all that can be done. Do not throw our rubbish on the ground, or in rivers, or the sea. Replant trees, open up rivers, make them deeper to carry more water, instead of land being flooded. Do not expect that the SCG will solve all the world problems.
All right, stop that one there. That was a rather old video, as tragically, well, not just old age, but it's sad. John Searle passed away. Professor John Searle passed away several years ago now, but his work is continuing on through the Searle Foundations and through such epic people as Jason Verbelli. And on my channels, we do have prior interviews with Jason on the Apex streams, and I believe I've got the edited videos of specifically that interview in the video sections. Okay, there are a couple more last thing. Try to keep it around 2 hours tonight, and they got to finish setting up the electrolysis so that we have a live demo by the time we're done here. So to free up my hands, I'm going to play one more video here by Harry Hubbard. For those that don't know, Harry Hubbard, he is actually, I can give Harry the credit of first getting me onto the ancient maps of the Mercator map, specifically with the 4 different islands at the North Pole with Mount Meru on them, and that it was Harry Hubbard and one of his old business partners that had a giant collection of these ancient maps that they recorded on VHS, doing presentations showing all the anomalies, these also exposing that Terra Australis, Terra and whatever they call Antarctica, also on these ancient maps long before they should have been, and many other ridiculous anomalies that we've done many streams on. But Harry Hubbard also is one of, and how I also, even before Terry Carter and all the amazing work that Terry Carter does, and just excellence, Terry Carter on Burroughs Caves and many other ancient pre-catalysm and giants and stuff in North America and the Midwest. But the Burroughs Cave being one of those sites that Terry has investigated and shown and covered in his videos. But it was Harry Hubbard who actually was friends with the Burroughs and made it out to the Burroughs Cave, invited in and documenting Russell Burroughs' different artifacts of this location and what they believe to be the burial of Alexander the Great in the US. So without further ado, Harry Hubbard just released this new video, Back to the Cave, on the Burroughs Caves and the work that he's done on it. And he'd been off social media for about 5 years or so, maybe less, but he's back on YouTube, and it's amazing to see. So let's play some. Russell Burroughs recording.
Not working. Nothing here.
Let me know how the sound is.
Sound is in and out. The video is not playing either.
Really? The video? The sound of what? The heck? Oh, I see what I did. I got it on 2 screens and put it on the wrong one. Here we go. That's why it wasn't working.
Oh, full background.
And I began to
should be much better.
Remove some of the artifacts, especially since I knew that eventually a coal company was going to be doing some core sampling in that area. And at that time, too, I didn't know just how extensive this thing was. There are 5 cave systems. They are on bluffs or in bluffs, which run in the north-south direction. They are adjacent to a navigable stream. And they are mainly filled with the loose material. Of course, it's not loose now, but it's obviously been washed down. I strongly suspect that this is as a result of a huge earthquake they had here. Well, I think it was 1811, when the major rivers and such flowed backwards for a period of time. And several lakes, as a matter of fact, were formed at that period by that. So the majority of the artifacts that I have found have been in this fill, and this is done by probing and by sifting to find these pieces, which is kind of tough because a couple of places in there where I'm pushing mud with my nose and I rub up against the ceiling, so it gets a little bit squeaky at times. And I hope it calls. I'm definitely awfully afraid of caves. Why I have a nerve crawling this thing, I don't know. I think I put my gasket somewhere. But the pill.
Okay, so I just quickly paused it to give some reference that this is Russell Burroughs before he passed. The recording that Harry Hubbard made with Russell Burroughs, the discoverer of the Burroughs Caves, and what Harry Hubbard has claimed for 30 years to be and put forward the evidence of it being the North American burial ground or burial chambers and artifacts of Alexander the Great, and that it was in Illinois that the Burrow Cave is found. So just a little reference there, and we will continue on.
So it seems to me, and I've determined this by probing, it seems to me to range in depth of 3 feet to 9 feet in depth. And that is down to the cave floor. And I determined this by fastening together several screw-type rods and pushing them into the ground or into the fill until I reached the bottom, the bedrock or the floor of the cave. Then I can determine about how deep it is. There are several grottos or shelves cut into the sandstone walls of these caves, and on which I have found several of these artifacts. Now, my method is a simple one. Each of these caves has been mapped as far as I have been into it, and as I progress into it, then I map it. I take exact measurements as to where each artifact is found, with the exception, of course, of the ones in the fill, because they obviously have been just washed into there and they're away from their original position. So, you know, if I did this, I would spend all of my time doing that and nothing else. The larger pieces down the floor that probably are too big, such as that big black head that's out at the museum now, I know that was not moved, or most likely was not moved by this flooding. So I do map and locate these pieces, just in case some archaeologist one day wants to decide, well, maybe we better take a look at that. But then that brings us back to that point. I don't know what will happen there. The people who own the property have given me permission to explore these caves, remove any of these artifacts that I wish to do with them as I please. However, they do not want archaeologists, geologists, anthropologists, paleontologists, or anyone else in there digging holes. That's exactly the way they told me. They said, if this happens, we will promptly dynamite the thing shut, and that will be the end of it. And knowing these people, and I've gotten to know them very well, 2 years have been working this, they would do it. And I don't know if they would really wait till I got out or not. So I'm not going to antagonize them. I'm going to go along with them for a while anyway. And I've kind of gotten away from my notes here. That's usually the way I do this. As I said before, obviously the location of this can't be revealed at this time for some of the reasons I just mentioned. And also the fact that there are collectors out there who would do anything, and I mean anything, to obtain a piece of this material. I've had them already try to follow me. I've taken them into the woods and probably lost them. They may still be there, I don't know. But I've had a couple of guys follow me and taking them back into these woods, and they're very thick and up and down and around and around, and you can't see where you are, and I've left them there. I guess they made it, I don't know. But I would have preferred to have seen this site properly explored. Because I know that there are just too many things like this that are destroyed. But on the other hand, if I didn't do it, most likely these artifacts would have been destroyed with the core sampling and the subsequent work going on there, the heavy equipment and such coming in. I know some of these caves probably would have collapsed. Or something that might have even been worse than that. The people who are doing the work would probably have found them and then instead of keeping these things together, they probably would have wound up all over the country, and gosh knows what would have happened with then. Now, does anybody at this point have any questions they'd like to ask for Rodney? Yes, sir. What is your occupation? What is my occupation? Yes, I'm a woodworker. I'm a woodworker. Yeah. A woodworker. And that is, as you discover these artifacts, they're not exhibited in the area of exhibition. No. Can't keep them yourself or provide security. Yes. Thank you. You're welcome. Yes. No, they have not. I gave up on those fellows with the decision by the guy who had not even seen these artifacts, that they were made by a cult. I suspect he was talking to the Golden Circle, which was a cult of witches back that period of time. Who? Somebody else? Oh, let's see. Here's to this past May. Yeah. Seems like forever though. Yes, sir. Well, I found Jack, actually, and I didn't find Jack, nor did he find me. Another person who was involved in this, to a degree, had Mr. Ward over to take a look at some of these articles. And this person called me and suggested that I come over as he was coming over. That was, a little less than a year ago. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry, ma'am, I didn't hear. Yeah, I kind of got roped into that one. Yeah. Anybody else?
Did you find these things by accident when you went into the state? Or did you have an idea that might be something that they could indicate?
Well, that's a good question. Now, I like to say that through research, study, that I knew that these things were there. However, I wouldn't be exactly truthful if I did that. I found them quite by accident. I was looking for one thing, found another. The first of these caves I found, I stepped on a stone which was cut and balanced over a hole or an entry into a small cave, which tipped with me, and in I went. And my heart got big as a watermelon. Adrenaline was flowing enough so that, the bottom of this was about 8 feet down. When I hit bottom, I promptly bounced back up and was hanging on with my elbows on puff, puff, puff. And then it dawned on me, hey, what is this? So I dropped on in and took a look around, and this is when I really began to explore. The other caves have been found under shelf, where they have been filled. One of them, the largest, was sealed with stones that were cut to fit much like a puzzle. I was almost 3 weeks getting that thing open. There was one key stone, which I finally located, and by removing it, then it was a simple matter of opening it, going on in. Yeah. So yes, it was by accident. Sir? The one is, yes. There's only one. That's the one I fell into. The others are horizontal. The largest of them now I've penetrated so far to a depth of 110 feet, with probably a down degree of probably 7 or 8 degrees. So it's with the exception version of the one, while they're so far all horizontal. No, man, it was sealed purposely. Something within the cave, which brings out a very interesting point. Why is it sealed? So obviously there's another opening to this cave somewhere. I've not been able to locate it yet, but eventually I will, I'm sure. Yes, I have found bones, and these have belonged to a university or the analysis. I don't know just when they will have a carbon-14 dating on them for me, but eventually they will have, and then we'll know on that.
Plans for the future do you have, Charles? Are you going to continue examining the site?
Well, at this point in time, I'd like to crawl up and hide. But yes, I probably will work it. So. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Question.
What was my plans for the future? Do I plan on working the cave? Yes, I do. And my plans now are to begin to place these artifacts in the Sun's Museum. Or at least have Mr. Ward examine them and determine which ones he wants in the museum. Yes, ma'am. Yes, as I said, the largest so far, I've penetrated into 110 feet. So yes, it's quite a large case. Now the young gentleman back there. Yes, that's how far into the cave I have gone so far. That's not the vertical shaft. No, that's horizontal.
Are the contents of the cave separated into categories? I mean, they put certain levels.
No, actually not. They're it's pretty much a hodgepodge of these things. I wish that caves in the area, and I'm able to look at them. I hope they're not filled, because I would like to see for sure what's there without this, So as of yet, I've not really been able to reach the floor, except in half a dozen places in these things. The material is very damp and dark and cold in there, and I don't like it.
When you found it, were you out just mushrooming, or were you out wandering in the woods?
No, I was searching for a cave. Yes, but I was searching for what I believe to be an Aztec site in that area. So I meant when I said I was looking for one thing and found another.
Are you a caver? Do you eventually go down to the cave?
No, absolutely not. No, sir. No, I'm definitely afraid of caves. The only way I can get in these caves and function is just kind of forget where I'm at and go ahead and do what I got to do and get out. Yeah. Well, I don't think if something happened, there'd be a vertical shaft pretty quick. I think I'd probably go straight up.
Are these caves a one fill within a one level, or a cave floor?
No, they're not at water level. They're above. They're above water level. I've not been able to obtain the geological map as yet. I sent to them quite a while ago, which was giving me a determination on the height, the elevation of the area they're in. But no, they're not at water level, that I do know. At least they don't flood during wintertime.
Where's your home, Mr. Burrows? Are you from Bridgeport or Albany or someplace else?
No, my home is in Albany. Originally, I'm from the East Coast. I kind of migrated. So, anybody else? No, they were cut and fitted. Yes, ma'am. They were cut and fitted, and it was very tight fit. I mean, they were precisely cut and fitted. But as I say, just if you think of the entrance to this particular cave as the face of a clock, then just slightly 10 o'clock center. This is the point in which I found the keystone, which when it was removed, then it was a simple matter of taking them on down there. I did, of course, number them, making a chart before I removed them. I numbered them so that I knew exactly how they would go back. So, and of course, I did photograph it. Anybody else? Basically sandstone. And the caves themselves are not man-made. They're not cut. However, on one of them, the lip above the entrance to the cave, when you go under the lip, if one should happen to turn over and look upward, then several inscriptions, scripts, pictoglyphs, hieroglyphs type thing are cut into the top of this cave, or this entrance to the cave, which is it's a projection of stone which protrudes out from the lip of it into the actual entrance to the cave is 12 feet 8 inches.
Do you have any theories as to how this stuff wound up in this cave?
I didn't until I had met Mr. Ward. I can, since I've seen these things, there are items in the cave which I have told no one about so far. I think it's pretty well cut and dried that these are items, pieces from the cultures of the ancient Libyans, Phoenicians, and Nubian Egyptians. And I think Mr. Ward is much more knowledgeable in the period of time than I am. They've been here quite a while.
Is there any evidence of those two pieces or figures on the dog figure Stephen and the two people with a gun that looks like a hand? And that would be Greek or a Saturn paper. That would be Greek rather than Egyptian. I don't know the word is coat but they were not. Is there any evidence that they might have fallen from the wall later?
That's what I'm wondering. Especially in the way that some of them are broken, and in the positions that I have found some of them, they look as though they had been just kind of pushed out from the wall like this. Well, of course, whether they are Greek or not, I don't know. I think that's Egyptian. That's the god Anon.
Because that's the common figure that you see is
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is. And the female figure with the bird head, same thing. We see this quite often. However, I'm not an Egyptologist, so.
We have another question. Back here.
Pardon me. No, they are not of the native stone. They're stone which they're material which I have never seen before. Never in my life have I seen material such as that. The white marble, of course, I have seen, but then again, this is Mediterranean, especially the pure white marble, which you just don't find in this area. In the United States, as a matter of fact, it's not found here. The black material, which is extremely dense, heavy, is a material I have never seen. Mr. Ward Jackson informs me that it is a black quartz. So it's something I'm not familiar with. I would not sell them. I doubt seriously that a museum, I don't know if a museum if it's approved by them. Most museums have no money. At least they'll tell you that. They would like you very much to donate. At least the museum over in St. Louis, the Natural History and Science Museum, would like me to donate some of the pieces to them. And of course, this is something that I intended to talk to Mr. Ward about sometime soon. But I think my feeling on it is, which does amount to a hill of beans, is that these items should remain together if possible. I mean, it would not be, in my opinion, again, it doesn't amount to much, these items should all be together in one display. Instead of, say, part of it here in Louisiana, part in St. Louis, maybe some up in the Chicago Museum, Washington, which we had, when this first began, a letter was sent with a description and photograph of these items to the Smithsonian Institute. Their information back to us is that they are not made or are not native to the North American continent, most certainly not the Amerindian or American Indian. So, but we've heard nothing else from them so far. Anybody else?
Did you say got something?
Yeah, it's I brought it in a plain brown wrapper. Thank you. In my IGA grocery bag, so that I didn't have anything else to stick it in real quick.
This is a plain piece of white marble, that thing here, and this is a Phoenician ship. Here are fish of some sort here around, and this seems to be a part of another ship here. You can see the animal head over here and the oars. I have seen another ship which is much larger than this. It's got many more oars to it. It's the type of ship that the Phoenicians came over here with. We're certainly pleased to have this, certainly thankful for it, but this more or less pins it down to the area in which it comes. And I might add about what is over there on the table. Those two pieces of white marble over there. One is the Anubis goddess, and she holds in her hand the anchor of life, which is she's an Egyptian religious goddess, two gorgets that Albert Stephan found here that we have at the museum. So some of that is tied into that particular time. Now we don't know whether some of this was of a much later period or not. I doubt whether it would be earlier, but it would be probably later when, and we learned a little bit about their rituals and everything. This place, or the place where these were brought to, seemed to be a place for testimony. Now there's one head of the Sun King that is like Angie on the card. It says that this is to be a place, put in a place where great men come to testify. And then the next line right underneath that says it must be in a place that had belonged to rodents, like a fox's den. Now that's on that one piece that was taken out. We have that at the museum. We have 3 pieces of black quartz out there that is extremely heavy. And we've had archaeologists and professors come from all over the United States now to look at these displays that we have here. They don't say anything about them except amazing, stupendous, startling, things like that. And I would imagine that they're going to leave it up to us to try to reconstruct some sort of a formation of what we think it is. We do know that these things were of Eastern hemispherical origin, and that their Egyptian script, that dial over there, it's just got Egyptian hieratic script all around it. And I haven't been able to read it too good. The little pendant is Phoenician, very, very Phoenician script. It's from many things. And likewise, I'm not so good on translating Phoenician. But enough ancient Libyan script there that can tell me a little bit about it, and I'll keep working at it. I'm awfully pleased to have Russ Burroughs over here with us, and we hope that we may be the recipients of a lot more stuff to come. I'll bring you a truckload. All right, thank you. Come on.
That's our old buddy Allahu Akbar. Well, that's a wrap. I think it's important to know how I got that recording. It was presented to me by June Elkin, Jack Ward's daughter, who was living in West Melbourne at the time when I lived in Melbourne or Palm Bay or Cocoa Beach, one or the other. And that it was presented on a cassette tape. Jack Ward had recorded it on a cassette tape, and they had it, and they gave it to me, and I transposed it maybe to DAT, and then from DAT to CD in like the early 2000s, 2004, 2005. So that's how it went. And I thought I'd lost the CD. I knew it was damaged, and I had preserved it from my fire in 2008, and I thought it was gone forever. And about a month ago, 2 months ago, I was going through a tote of CDs and found it. I'm like, oh, wow, let's see if it plays. And sure enough, it plays. Now, it's kind of grainy, but it's there. And that's how that works. And you're going to have to check out part 2. Part 2 is good, too. And it's quite entertaining, I guess you could say. A lot of swearing in there that I'm going to have to edit out. And it's going to have a commentary on it also. And some of the antics and things that happened afterwards. And then it's got a little snippet of Russell Burroughs talking for a couple of minutes about our side over here and what he makes up about it. It's just hilarious. I mean, he shoots himself in the foot every time he opens his mouth. He lies all the time, and he can't keep his lies straight. It's really funny. So at any rate, that's a wrap. Until next time, peace out, my brothers and sisters. So let's go down to the creek. I got his butt propped up a little bit here with a towel underneath his jeans. So he can kind of get a little bit better grip with his. How you doing, fella? Go check out the creek. Let's take this way down here. Hang on, buddy. Hang on. All right, I'm going to stop that there. And for reference, that was Harry Hubbard, and he was playing Russell Burroughs' original recording back from the 80s when he was presenting the Russell Caves, the Illinois Caves, and what Harry Hubbard later in his career claims and has done work showing the linguistics of the inscriptions on the different tablets found at this place to be what he says to be Alexander the Great's burial and tombs, and that as Harry was stating at the end there, explaining some of like the drama and lies, and both men throughout they're both absolute legends. Rest in peace to Russell Burroughs. He was accused of being a fraud and did admit to faking some and forging some of the artifacts, as well as like Harry Hubbard explains it. But then Harry has also faced allegations of fraud and forgeries as well throughout the years. But when you look and understand how these claims work, the legalities of finding these controversial sites on your properties, claiming the gold, as opposed to if you do admit to forging or fakery and making replicas, selling replicas, and that it was all fake, then you can't be charged with selling, stealing, pondering national treasures and artifacts that belong to the government, and all the taxes and all of that. And then all of the academics claiming to debunk both Russell Burroughs himself, his story, and all the work that he did, and then as well as Harry Hubbard's. But I do believe the legitimacy of the caves. I believe Harry Hubbard's story is the most accurate. It's awesome to see that he's posting again after having an absence for about at least a year. I was in contact with him over Twitter about a year and a half ago, where we were going to have Harry Hubbard on for me and Campbell's series, Egypt and America. And
I was scheduling with Harry, and then all of a sudden his Twitter account disappeared, and he took an absence from social media. But now that he's back, just to show you Harry Hubbard's YouTube page, and Illinois Caves is at Illinois Caves is Harry Hubbard's handle on YouTube. And please do go subscribe to Harry Hubbard. The guy is an absolute legend. Like I said, I give him full credit for first bringing to my awareness like 2 decades ago, I believe, like very beginnings of YouTube, when he first uploaded his series on the Mercator maps and the different ancient anomalous maps, and then going into the Burroughs Caves, and see, so here there's all these ancient treasures, and then there was the controversies of replicas, fakes, forgeries, the rest of it. See what happens when I play on YouTube? It gives us these stupid commercials. Thank goodness I had it muted. But yeah, so right, it's like supposedly these are replicas that Harry made of the originals. I believe is what the official story is. I suspect that they might all have been actual what you found in the cave and inheritance, and you know, part of the burial goods that you just claim you've made replicas, or you start making replicas of. Maybe half of them are replicas of the originals. Who knows? But for legal purposes, I understand why, you know, some people would accept or claim that it was fraudulent, or that they debunked it, when in fact they actually, the story is quite different, and in fact the originals are all real. All right, I'm rambling on. Anthony, got any thoughts in here? And Only Truth, sorry, it was you, good sir, I do believe, that was requesting the knowledge of the coils and sales of coils. And if it was not, whoever it was, I believe earlier asking about the how to buy the my goodness, Matt, what? Stoner Moments, Canadian at 3:03 a.m. Rife coils, there we go, the Rife Star coils, and Rife Technology. I believe he sells this unit for like 5,700 American, and I actually need to put time and effort into starting testing it again and doing it properly. That coming with the Rife machine, with the audio controller, frequency controller, the amp, fire, and the 2-star coils connected to his system. But yeah, I got to start doing tests on it before I would recommend spending that kind of money, unless you have a lot of money, at which point, well, donate some this way, and I will happily sell some of mine. And we got the Year of the Coil, Year 2. We're going to go fully into how we connect these different coils, how to make the coil winding machines yourselves. Jeremiah's had great success with the Bagel coil winder that he's made recently, in producing these coils quite efficiently and fast. And yeah, so there's, depending on what sort of coils you want and what you make, I do have several of the Magrav coils. And who else does the star? There's several that do star coils and Rodin coils. We gotta get back in full serious into Year of the Coil, and that will be the second half of tomorrow's stream with Real Science episode 44. Paranoid American Thomas, Jeremy Reese, alien scientist, our 3 or 4 mics. Shout out Gerald, WPG, Enlightened for Truth, and JP joined the technicians And Mikey does was here earlier, hopefully dreaming, resting well. The vortex coils, right? Like all the different, there's the toroid coils, the Peace on Earth, PoE coils of the Nunez's one-stop energies. And they also, sadly, about a year, 2 years ago, maybe now, also shortly after Jason Verbelli's 2 YouTube accounts were taken down, that the Nunez's had all of their content removed from their YouTube channel. And I was in contact, so we did have them on the Alien Scientist channel. We're talking, scheduling another year, getting them on the Year of the Coil, and then through Facebook, and haven't been able to get a hold of them since, but I'll try reaching out again. But yeah, Gerald's the main coil maker, and we'll have Gerald on WPG Enlighten for Truth too tomorrow on Real Science episode 44, and cover it much more in depth, only truths. And yeah, it's a work in progress. And the thing is when I turned on the Rife machine star coil unit and was messing with it the first night that I had it plugged in, and there was a couple settings that felt pretty decent. There was several that were missing, and I don't very sus why those specific frequencies were missing, the solfeggios exactly, and then a couple of the frequencies that I tried on this app that's like some random frequency generating app that runs it all. It was quite painful, sharp, and immediate, and negative effects as well, right? So it's very strong, and you can only guinea pig yourself to so many different outside strong energy forces and fields and bombardment before you break down and start causing yourself cancers and diseases and illnesses until we have it, more figured out. Thus, the whole point of my ramble is that it's still a very young science, but it has exponential, insane potential and legitimacy to it. It just the same with these monoatomics, diatomics, ormus, GANs, whatever you want to call it, colloidal water, colloidal silver, gold, purple gold, purple silver, stuff like that. And that, one simple thing illustrating on between Bert and Ernie right now, when I poured some boiling water in on the current silver jar, it turned everything blue, aka this diatomic, which becomes poisonous, most likely the red as well. So there's extreme opposites, right? Extreme good as well as extreme bad. And that I'm not recommending anyone goes full tilt in experimenting with these things or purchasing them or using them unless you really know what you're doing. And that the whole point of the Year of the Coil series and Real Science is to bring out the inventors, the people that are doing it, that do know what they're doing, and do these experiments. And we'll go deep into it tomorrow night, hopefully with Gerald and Jeremiah and the rest of the team. All right, we're 2 hours 15 in. Anthony seems still awake, but did you want to go over some
overview of coils sometime?
Sorry?
Maybe do like an overview of the different coils and how much power to use for people getting started.
Yeah, see, I have no idea. That's what I need Gerald and Jeremiah for before doing it, and I don't have all of the right. Like Jeremiah is saying, I should have different equipment of power supplies and controls and stuff, and that I've never actually plugged a lot of the different coils that I made myself into any large amounts of electricity or frequency whatsoever, because I understand the potential of like negative exponential effects or strong energies, potential plasma fields, potential ball lightning, potential explosion, melting, because one of the requirements for the bagel coil of a coil within a coil within a coil is that the inner one is a ferrite iron, and then when you have ferrite iron toroid wrapped around copper solenoid, upon a copper solenoid around that iron ferrite coil, and put thousands of volts through, yet alone hundreds or millions in some of the experiments you do, you would literally could create, I don't know, a mini sun, was sort of plasma explosion, because you'd have molten iron in this giant plasma ball. Who knows, right? Electromagnetic fields. It has to do with the tokamak reactors, essentially. These same toroidal torus donut shapes and electromagnetic fields that seem to run the universe, and the mathematic coding behind it all, but that it's sacred geometry applied into insane electromagnetic physics. And yeah, anywho, I'm rambling. It's late. We got a good stream tomorrow. But what else good, Anthony? Yeah, so tomorrow bring it up with Gerald and Jeremiah, and we will get into it. And I will do some live tests of the showing off the official ways of the Rife coils and machine again with the app, and we'll do some live experiments with it. And hopefully I just don't hit any of the frequencies that hurt, and find the ones that make you feel good.
The same. Hey, does anybody have any details on replicating the Searle system, or even like the prototype when he was 14?
Yeah, so that's Jason Verbelli. He's built a couple himself. He works in advanced electromagnetic manufacturing in somewhere in America. I forget where. Forgive me, but he himself had built a couple, and then there's the Searle Society that he's a member of, that as a whole group have several, I believe 3 or 4 working models of it and still running, and are based in Silicon Valley or somewhere in California, if I'm correct.
Yeah, that sounds right. Pretty sure I've seen him, but he never got into a lot of the details. He just said a lot of the prototypes were really expensive.
Yeah, so I believe the details are available like open source on their website, and in their freaking the cloud stuff. That's something else I'll bring up with Tim in the next APEC, and we'll get on contacting Jason. I'll email him again. I was in correspondence with him. He was stoked to come back on, and then after his YouTube channels got removed, and they then rejected his appeal, and I believe it's absolute bullshit, and he should get his both channels fully restored in full, because they claimed it was on health, misgiving health advice. It was 2 videos that he had made out of like his thousands on different physics theories, magnets, electromagnets, presentations of physics in different conferences, real technology in the lab, construction, all sorts of just amazing real science. Like Jason Verbelli was cutting edge, next level stuff. And he had 2 videos just speculating and showing different test results of magnetic water and structured water, and they banned both of his channels and removed them permanently. And I encourage everybody to please petition and write to YouTube to restore Jason Verbelli's science channels, because the Real Verbs is real science, and it was wrongfully censored. And I would be devastated too. Like, I'm still upset, and please also take up the cause. And in that same email to YouTube, ask for Bernard Conkin, my first YouTube channel, to be restored, as it is also to this day deleted and terminated. But although it was, 14 or 15 years old at this point, like my original channel, and this was actually the background in it, this same Magrav coil, but in copper oxide, submerged above other layers of monoatomics and diatomics. There's actually 4 different layers of salt water, electrolytes, and ormus materials and wires connecting each, and I was making stacked saltwater batteries that also produce hydrogen all on their own. And that's something that we will be going further in tomorrow. But basically, that's what you see between Bert and Ernie. All these things is I put these coils into the salt water, produce tons of hydrogen off the cathode with extremely low voltage, which is one aspect of utilizing these triple electromagnetic fields from the copper solenoid bagel coils and Magrav coils and star coils and Rodin coils. And you're also exponentially increasing your surface area exposure to that electrolyte on that cathode side with a very low voltage, but an extremely strong electromagnetic, sustained electromagnetic field that you have a exponential gain in hydrogen production of the salt water out of very, very little electric input, thus most likely getting over unity potential by several fold. And a key part to Stanley Meyer's technology and development of this electrolysis hydrogen technology, and most likely a key part of the technology that we showed John Levi highlighting of another water electrolysis vehicle, where literally all you're putting in is salt water to the tank, and it's a combination electric hydrogen vehicle simply from water, and that we should all have these. It's very easy to convert both diesel, and the key part that John Levi was stating in the case that he was showing is that it was converting gasoline cylinder engines into hydrogen through water. And on TikTok, there's all sorts of shorts showing these key breakthrough technologies and them being utilized and allowed in the third worlds, like throughout Asia, Southeast Asia, throughout as well Africa and South America. And one I recently saw was, I believe, Colombia or Ecuador, where they have electrolysis flashlight battery chargers, where they literally put a scoop of salt water in, and it's these exact same jar battery style, Baghdad battery style saltwater battery things that I'm making and working with and working out, that they've come out with and used, that uses a bamboo shoot, copper sheets, I believe some zinc and something else, exactly the same as what I use, that you put in salt water. It runs for, I believe, at least a week, but I think they get up to a month of it constant, nonstop, bright LED, as well as your cell phone charger and a couple USB charging outlets out of this saltwater electrolysis battery system that they make out of recycled materials. So I'll try to get that for tomorrow as well. And any last words for tonight, Anthony?
I'm just thinking a lot of the experiments they showed over time, like the palladium loading for the cold fusion, the others actually took like weeks to like months to build up before they showed results. So it'd be interesting to have these experiments for a long period and see what happens.
Absolutely. And you just brought up such a key part of it. And what I've learned through this electrolysis stuff, the cycles of like a week or a month that gets the coating like this. If you can see the straight pink, that is this copper pipe in this red state metamaterial that Sir Isaac Newton talks of. And then the anode side that is nano coated all itself in red metamaterial, as well as black carbons in some of them.
Do both have a coating, or is it just the one with the wire?
Sorry?
Do both have a coating on it, or was it just the one with the wire?
They have two different nano layerings. The pipe, the pink crystalline pipe, has a crystal lattice structure, a copper crystal lattice structure. It's literally copper in its crystalline state. It reflects light, sparkles, and grows in crystal formations off of it. And that's the anode side when it's in an active red state that Sir Isaac Newton states is the form of metals to transmutate from one solid into another, quote unquote, and a key part of this advanced alchemical science of the past. And yeah, so the cathode usually gains particle or layers and different structures, what might be tritium, deuterium, all sorts of different combinations of, because electrolysis, you're breaking hydrogen water down into hydrogen and oxygen molecules and atoms on the atomic level that can then off the anode, they oxidize and hydroxides with the metals and break down into the crystalline transmutative state. And then on the cathode side, they add on and build into solid crystal, like structured layers, these nano layered structure. Oh, it's so fascinating. But I'm rambling, and hold on. Maybe I have reference pulled up. Let's see what is in.
Looks interesting tomorrow, too.
Here we go. So right here, you can see the black buildup on the cathode and the blue breakdown on the anode side of these reactions. And on the systems always. This was a little chunk of blood mucus that I put in, just a tiny speck, a pinprick, into this silver bismuth copper reaction. Here at this point, it's pure silver ounce on both anode and cathode. And it was in there for about 3 days, and it grew to the size of my thumb at that point, of like this biological matter of my own that like just fascinating. So when you bring the stories of homunculus into these alchemical jars and practices and the requirements of biological tissue in a electrical creation jar, it's quite fascinating. And the different the biochemical implications and amplifications, and then verifications of like ancient witchcraft and alchemy and like potions and stuff. It's biological matter. And I've shown off the cathode sides when you put blood into the reaction. When I drop blood in actively, on the hydrogen, atomic hydrogen coming off, it starts producing white flakes instantly. And it doesn't matter where the blood drop falls in the electrolysis water, the electrolyte, closer to the anode, to the cathode, or the wall. Simultaneously, the moment the blood hits the top of the water, the cathode side, the atomic hydrogen starts a flake of white material, which Keshi says is your amino acids, or I believe your nano particle of your resonant frequency, your own biological monoatomic piece of material that is attaching to those hydrogens, that you're adding it on, so that if you then bond that with the pure monoatomic gold, pure monoatomic silver, you have your biological frequency cell piece for piece placed with that potential quantum gold material, silver material, with your DNA like partnered or attached to it, right? So who knows? And here I'm showing this bubble. It actually captures, because it's a 4K or high capture camera, you'll see it shoots up and it actually condenses, but it moves all the way up. It's never a splash. It's actually this oxygen coming off the anode side that just flies up out of nowhere. Like, is it a plasma ball or something? Like, what does it do? But it's not dispersing. It literally shoots straight up every time, and never a ripple back of water splashing down or anything. It's going straight up, defying modern gravity and what they claim to be dissolution or whatever, the mixture of air, but rather it seems to continue in a different dimension of buoyancy straight up and out, and is rather applying buoyancy continued into this dimension, or the gaseous dimension from the liquid. All right, so 2 hours 33 minutes exactly. I guess it's time to call her Illuminati confirmed, right? Oh, Diet Dazzle, we're just getting into your sort of topic, so I definitely recommend rewinding the last 20 minutes, or excellent, keeping it short at 2 hours and a half here. I'm going to edit this down into several 20-minute specific segments, and you can rewatch it when it premieres. Just like you can rewatch tomorrow early afternoon, Alien Scientist, myself, and Mike talking the superconductor KK 59. What's the number? 29? Anthony, do you remember? Whatever it is, the superconductor, the results in the lab.
Oh, I can't. I know what you're talking about. I can't remember.
Right, too late in the night.
99.
Thus, we will call it
LK.
Sorry?
K, yeah. LK or KL.
K. Yeah, it's like KK or yeah. No, it's I forget. Anyways,
I can't remember.
You crazy mother. Yeah. It's just Bernie. Bernie just like that.
What happened?
Shout out. Oh, I changed it too fast. Shout out Esra for making that. I meant to let it play all the way, but anywho, good night. See y'all today. Always get the thank you for absolutely relevant. Let's Alchemist 99. You're out.